another thing is, like you said, like it does mask a lot of operational inefficiencies, because you think you have this super large, top line number. You can start throwing money at a lot of your problems. And what you're not realizing is that it's going to then compile once like the bills come due. It's like, oh, well, we need this done faster. Like we can throw a freelancer on there to kind of help us out, or we could do this XYZ to speed this process up. And you're just eating into those margins, right? And then you're left holding the bag at the end of the day.
Hey everyone, today we are going to be talking about one of the most misleading signals in an agency's growth: revenue. A big top line number can feel like a win, but if your cash position is not where you need it to be and your profit is razor thin or non-existent, you are consistently chasing the next invoice or the next payment from a client in order for you to stay afloat. Something is broken. We've worked with agencies ranging from 5, 8+ million a year who feel like they are drowning. And it's not because they're not good at what they do. They're absolutely great. It's because their business model doesn't allow for profitability and sustainable cash flow. So in this episode, we're going to unpack how agencies end up revenue rich and profit poor, how to avoid the race to the bottom in this agency landscape, and what numbers should actually matter to you and the ones that you should care about if you want your business to not just be busy, but actually healthy in being able to support the lifestyle that you're looking for. So let's start with this initial kind of illusion that so many agency owners kind of just get stuck in. And here's the reality of what I see. Revenue growth can mask a lot of things. Operational inefficiencies can mask bad business models. But the reality of what I actually see as like the core component to this is that so many agencies are stuck in this like illusion of revenue because there's so much about it. It has like this big ego boost. Like, I just closed new business, I just won, whatever. And there's so much around this identity component of being a business owner that's able to close business. And you are that like wheel and dealer person, and you're discounting things and you're selling it at a cheaper price. And that's actually causing you a problem. It's not actually solving your problem, the business that you're closing. And I get a huge amount of pushback working with a new client that is below 20% net profit. And I'm like, here's the price point that you need to be at. They're like, oh, no one's going to pay this. The amount of times in my career I've heard that. There's nobody's going to pay this. And then 2 months later, 3 months later, they're like, oh, let's raise our prices again. And it just changes the dynamic piece of what's going on. I don't know what your experience is there, Darren.
Yeah, my experience is, first and foremost, I started off working on the back end of a lot of these agencies. So I'm looking at the revenue numbers. Just me, I'm a curious numbers person. I don't know if you're like me, you go into like a store, you start, okay, there's 20 people in line, each of us paid. And so you're just like, you're like projecting out the numbers. And so like I'm kind of a numbers nerd like that. So I'm like, oh, like this business does XYZ. So when I first started, I was working on the back end of a lot of these agencies, and I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm like, oh wow, they're doing, multiple millions in revenue. Why why are we struggling to make payroll for them? Or like why are they, like it's like things is like, if you're doing, $5 million, why are you guys like stressing? And it's weird because I also feel the stress that they're under, right? So it's just like, hey, like can we hold off on these AP payments because we got to make this payroll? And it's like trying to move things around. But I'm like, you guys are wildly top line revenue. You just closed a $3 million deal. Like, what's going on here? Like these, and then I learned a thing called terms, right? And it's like, oh yes, we are going to pay you 90 days from now. We're going to pay you 120 days from now, and that's if they pay on time, right? People have taken, I've seen,
Because that happens all the time, right? They always pay on time, every time.
Exactly. Yep. But your bills are still due, right? So imagine trying to pay your team 6 months, like, hey, we haven't received the payment, we'll pay you guys in 90 days. Like, how long is your team going to work and deliver for you if you're not paying them, let alone miss one payroll? Now you're talking 90 days in the future. Was that 6 payrolls? It's like, yeah, I'm not staying around too long.
Well,
If
you're breaking laws as well, too, right? Like there's just that little thing that's also happening, but whatever.
yeah. So realistically, like the revenue number can be a vanity number. And then another thing is, like you said, like it does mask a lot of operational inefficiencies because you think you have this super large, top line number. You can start throwing money at a lot of your problems. And what you're not realizing is that it's going to then compile once like the bills come due. It's like, oh, well, we need this done faster. Like we can throw a freelancer on there to kind of help us out, or we could do this XYZ to speed this process up, and you're just eating into those margins, right? And then you're left holding the bag at the end of the day.
One of the funny things that I'm kind of curious, and obviously cannot do a poll on a podcast, but I'm kind of curious about the amount of listeners today. Because when you're talking about I'm that curious numbers person, and you're standing at line in a grocery store and thinking about whatever, I do that all the time as well. I feel like that is because we are numbers people, and I'm curious of, and it's an important component. And if you don't have a numbers person in your agency, you don't have a numbers person from a bookkeeper that's supporting you. You need someone that thinks about things that way, that is sitting in line at a grocery store thinking about, well, there's this many customers. How many customers are going to go through? This has got to be an average. Is this the busy time? Is this the slow time? And actually understanding that, thinking about how that actually works. Because if you're not having someone that's watching out for that, thinking about the terms, as Darren saying, like there's so many little pieces that go into a successful business, either cash flow implications becoming very difficult, or that you're just hemorrhaging profit, hemorrhaging. And there's been so many examples. I mean, one comes to mind of a New York-based agency that looked at me as if I was completely out of my mind when, after working with them for like 45 days, my comment is that you needed to fire your biggest client because every single hour that you're working on them, you're losing multiple dollars per hour, and that's actually your problem. It's like you have 70% of your revenue that's losing loads of money for you. So we need to let that go. And they looked at me like I was completely crazy. And they had been doing this for years, that all of the rest of their business was supporting this one client to do the work. And it was just absolutely crazy. And the amount of that happens, and it had been gone on for a decade, and gone on for more than a decade. And in just a short period of time, in less than 6 months, we were able to adjust they were doing, the pricing. They ended up letting go of that client. They ended up just readjusting their pricing. And it had such a significant impact where they were able to, in 1 year, have more profitability, 2 times the amount of profitability than they had done in the last 10 years combined because of that change. And so it's huge. And so here's some of the pieces that I see kind of coming into it, is that like that underpricing piece. There's this like idea, especially if you're still on the hourly model. And the reality is that those of you that are working with bigger businesses, you have rate sheets, you've got price sheets that are going to work with the enterprise kind of clients, but you may have, or working on a blended rate, which I have all sorts of qualms with blended rates, but you may be working and operating with them on a blended rate. And the reality is that you're not actually considering all the price points, that the cost associated with it. You're not actually thinking about what's going into that work, the underutilized time, the cost of payroll, the cost of employer taxes. You're not actually thinking about it in its entirety. And those blended rates and your rate sheets so often are wrong. In fact, in the hundreds of agencies that we've worked with over the years, there's only been one example, one, that understood the different price considerations that went into it, the underutilized time, the consideration of working weeks, all of those pieces that actually went into that core rate sheet. And even then, that one agency in that one example was targeting the wrong gross profit and ultimately not allowing for them to be as profitable. And in 1 year, slightly just adjusting a small component to their pricing model allowed for them to double their profitability. Huge, just absolutely huge. And the other piece that I see is the core kind of cause of this is just saying yes to everything. As a client's asking for something, you're just, yep, sure, why not? Yes, yes, yes. And it just causes so much pain and anguish. And stop trying to be the cheapest person in town. Like I don't want to be, and I hope you don't want to be either.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, we had a whole episode on being able to say no, right? So that's one of the things that opens people up to things that go out of scope, out of margin, is just being like, oh, yeah, we'll pick up a new deal. Like, this is more revenue for us. Oh, yeah, we'll pick up a new deal. And sometimes there's always just, it needs to be somebody's job to understand the numbers of the business, right? Because if you are the agency owner, 9 times out of 10, you're a creative and you're thinking large, big picture, kind of like making sure that everything is just continuing to grow. You're not understanding like the nuance behind like all of the deals you're closing. You're not understanding all of the kind of context that goes along with these new deals. So you're thinking, oh, this is my client. I like this client. They're asking for this. Why not? Yes, it'll be more revenue for us. It'll be more revenue for us. But on the back end, like kind of like the delivery side, it is impacting your team. It's not being profitable. Like I said, there may be terms where it's longer, and then you get the news rolled up to you like, hey, we're about to miss payroll, and then you start devaluing your services. That's the worst
Mm-hmm.
part, is like, oh, well, let's pick up some $10,000 deals here, $10,000 there, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, payroll just across.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to
Mm-hmm.
get that the revenue in, right? And then so it's just like, oh, now that it kind of makes it, I don't know, there was a
Just takes a bat to your mindset.
yes, right, right. And so I would say like it has its negative effects as well, right? One of the things you don't always need to be focused on revenue. Yes, revenue is nice, but realistically, you need to understand the context behind it as well. Like if we're
It's a
picking up
piece.
this new project, right? What is the costs that are associated with it, right? Are we going to need to hire new team members, right? Are we going to need to hire new subcontractors? What does that look like for us in our overall bottom line? Where are we going to be? And like I said, the last one, Warren Buffett, and then what happens, right? So it's like, what else is going to happen down the road for this, right? And then again, just understanding what it means when you pick up these new clients, right? Typically, a lot of times there's more work in onboarding a new client, right? Versus, having these kind of sustained relationships with a client where it's easier for you to, like, your team has already been in the workflow. Like it's easy for them to get the work done and under like the time that you think it's going to take. But for new clients, it's like I have to put all my focus, all my energy. This is a brand new relationship. We need to give them the time, the attention, the service, and that just it it's a large upfront cost in terms of team time. And so like you need to have the additional kind of thought process when you're thinking about it overall in terms of it's not just revenue, right? There's a lot of things that come with it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that revenue is a piece to the pie, and not even the biggest piece, but it's a piece to the pie. And the reality is that I find so many instances where agencies are scaling and they doing it with the wrong business model, and it's just causing so much of a problem. So what should we be tracking instead of just revenue? And it's one of the things that we should be looking at. But the thing that is almost more important to me is gross margin. What is the actual gross profit that I'm earning in a given month? So if I were to take the total revenue minus the cost of subcontractors, minus the cost of billable salaries, what is my gross profit that I have in the given month? That to me is 10 times more important, 10 times more valuable than your revenue number. Because the reality is it allows for you to understand where your business is actually performing, and going to give you a better understanding of where you're going to be profitable. Because the reality is for the vast majority of agencies is that cost in a given month kind of goes up and down, not just because of billable salaries tend to stay roughly the same, but your contractors can have a massive flux, being 10% one month and then 40% the next month, which not great if it's getting into the 40%, especially if you have billable salaries. But so understanding what that gross margin actually is. The other one is a very uncommon one, which is throughput. So understanding what you're earning on a given project in a given week or a given month. So the reality of what I see happen so incredibly often is that, I sold a $100,000 SOW or a $10,000 SOW. But if I were to take in the initial plan was that it was going to be 10 weeks that I was going to work on it. And rather than 10 weeks, it ends up going 10 months. And so it's ended up taking incredibly longer, and the amount of money that you're actually making in a given month is not the same. You have not only degraded your profit, but you've taken that project and made it unprofitable. And the reality is that each week that it goes past the initial timeline is you're eating away percentage point by percentage point of profitability every single month, every single week that you're going past. And so understanding what that throughput of planned throughput on the project and end throughput on that project. And then finally, what is your cash runway? How many months could your agency survive if you did not collect a dime? Not one dime. How many months do you have? One, two, a week? What do you have? And the reality is that you should not be operating your business with less than 2 months. You need to have at least 2 months. You are going to be making the wrong choices and operating from a point of scarcity if you don't.
Yeah, and I think the best way to do that is to actually have a report, right? A cash flow report showing you how the money is falling throughout your business and coming in, right? So you can see, okay, cool. And we say at least like 90 days, right? So if today is May 1st, it's like, okay, where is the business going to be June, July, August, right? What are the low points in terms of cash flow? Like, what are the high points in terms of cash flow? Do I need to take some money out? Do I need to push up some invoices, push up some work? Is there a way that we can maneuver this? What is my team currently looking like, right? So are we in a good place overall for us to sustain? Do I need to do more on the sales front, right? Do I need to? And also, this is why reporting is so important, right? Just understanding the numbers is like, okay, cool. I see that my cash flow in 2 months is going to be negative. All right, so how many leads do I need to bring in from now to make sure that I'm covering that gap, that loss, right? How many conversations do I need to have? And if I'm a person who does, networking, like how many events do I need to go to make sure that I'm covering that gap, right? It allows for you to key in and focus in on the actions that are going to give you the output that's going to make you successful.
Input versus output metrics of what actions does it take? I mean, the reality is that actions are the only thing that's going to change your current circumstance.
Exactly, right. And then also it gives you a plan, right? It gives you a focus. I don't know. I don't. A lot of people are just kind of going with the win. It's just like, oh, okay, like we'll do that this way. We'll do it this way, which is why kind of that revenue number is also so dangerous. It's just like, yeah, we brought in this much. Oh yeah, we can afford that. We just closed the deal that big. Oh yeah, we can afford that, right? You just like just throwing money out the window. So you just
You
need
literally
to.
just made my stomach turn with that statement right there.
Yeah, but also, I mean, in tandem with that, right? Knowing and having a reporting structure is going to be key overall, right? And that comes from operational standpoint. So looking at your team's time, how much utilization are they, or how utilized are they? Do they need, or can they even do they even have enough time to do more work if we were to bring on more work, right? And it's like, what is it translating to in terms of our overall profitability for the business, right? So when we're at 50% profit utilization, where are we at? When we're at 75%, where are we at, right? And what are they working on? What are the types of projects they're working on? What are the types of projects that are more profitable? So having that ability to kind of get nuanced enough to understand, like when we bring on these types of projects, they typically take this long and they're typically this profitable, right? And so we should maybe we should lean into this vertical because this is the most profitable, right? You talked about it a little bit earlier with the New York base, is that like, hey, this may be, a $3 million client a year, but it's actually costing us $300,000 to service them. I don't think this is a good idea, right?
Yeah, costing you. You're paying for it.
Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
basically paying to do their marketing. Yeah. Definitely want to make sure that you have that understanding of your numbers. I don't know how many times we preach this, but having that understanding is going to give you that clarity you need to for the actions that you need to take to be successful.
We're going to continue to preach it until every agency fully understands it. And not that I'm trying to get you all to be accountants, because I'm not, but I'm trying to get you to a place where you are profitable and being able to make decisions from a comfortable place. So the reality of the adjustment in your foundation that's necessary is that you need to be looking at clarity in your existing model. So what is the minimum threshold of gross profit that you are going to need in order to accept work? What is the minimum? Because otherwise, if you fall below that, what is going to happen to your business? So know fully what is that minimum. And then ultimately being able to have a consistent reassessment of your existing delivery model. Is it built for growth? Is it built for margin? Is it built for profitability? Like exactly how is that functioning, and really understanding the core around it and being able to truly understand what mechanics you have to be able to manage your business and growth. I mean, obviously each different stage of your agency, there's nuances to this really, right? But the reality for most of you listening today is that you do not have an investor backed person that is going to be giving you money to be able to hire the people and continue to grow. Like you are doing this from your own coffers. You're doing this and financing it bootstrapped from its own profit. And so in order for you to be able to bring people on in the future, in order for you to be able to continue to grow, you're going to have to be building those reserves, building that cash so that you can invest in yourself. And if you're not doing it, you are paying for it with your future.
Exactly.
So if your agency is generating revenue but isn't consistently under is consistently under financial stress, you're not alone. And but that's not how it has to be. Revenue can be a vanity metric. And if there isn't enough cash in your business reserves to support your team, your operations, or your growth, you're in a bad place. So start tracking what really matters, get curious about your margins, have the numbers in front of you, and don't wait until there's a crisis to realize that your agency wasn't built to actually grow sustainably and profitably. You can fix this, but it starts by shifting your focus from top-line revenue numbers to actually moving what matters most in moving your business forward.